What's going on, people? Today I want to talk about how if you're a Christian, you need to find yourself like a spiritual mentor, somebody who has walked in the faith and followed Christ for a lot longer than you have, and that can guide you on your journey, because it is hard being a Christian. Like it is really tough, man. Like when I look back and think about the time, because I remember the time when I gave like my life to Jesus, and when I gave the keys of my life to Jesus and said, you know what, take the keys, you're at the wheel, do what you need to do. And to be quite honest with you, like my life in a lot of ways from the outside has actually got worse. Like, it's been a rough few years, and it's not been easy, but at the same time, like, I don't regret it at all. Like, I do not regret it. And I have gained more than what has been taken away. And what I have gained is worth way more than anything that has been taken away. And those of you who have, given your life to Jesus, you'll understand what I mean by that. But but going back to finding like a spiritual mentor, like this is why I love church, right? Because I love going to church, because when I go there, I'm trying to find people that have been going for years, that have walked the walk, and like been through like real hard times in their life and have come out the other side of it, and speaking to those people that a little bit older, a little bit wiser. That's how you gain wisdom, man. Like, you gain so much from that. You gain so much confidence as well in God, because you've got proof. You've got somebody there in front of you saying, look, this happened to me. That might be happening to you, but look at where I am now. And I'm going through my own battles right now. Obviously, I'm dealing with the fact that my health is not amazing. I need a kidney transplant. So I found that out 7-8 months ago. So I was 29 and I found out that I needed a kidney transplant. And when I go to church, I see people that have, and speak to people that have been through worse than what I'm going through and have come out the other side. There is a lady at my church. She had breast cancer, and I remember when I first joined church, it was very early on when I started going. I remember her being prayed for because she was going through chemotherapy. She had sort of lost all of her hair. She looked ill. And it wasn't that long ago, it was maybe a few weeks ago, I was sat a few rows behind her, and I was looking at her, and she's got her hair is all grown out, and she kind of like turned, and I could see the life in her face. And I thought, wow, like you have done a massive 180, because I remember, if you've ever seen somebody on chemo, you get a little bit puffy, you lose a lot of colour in your skin, you look very pale and grey, and you look ill, especially if you've lost your hair and stuff as well. It's not nice. It's not nice for anyone to go through. But I was looking at this woman and I was thinking, my days, like, you are thriving now. She had a massive smile on her face. The worship music was going on, and like, you could just see how happy she was, and at peace she was. And, I've never actually really had a conversation with her about her experience, and like leaning into God of like needing that healing, you know, and I probably should. But just seeing that, like, that has clearly left an impact on me, right? But it could be like anything that you're going through. And I've had so many questions because I only came to the faith like, 3-4 years ago. And I was kind of coming into it kind of blind. Like, I knew little bits and pieces. None of it made any sense. So I was just full of questions. And finding somebody that is a little bit wiser, you know, knows the scriptures, and also what I value is life experience. You know, somebody who's a bit older that's just gone through it, you know, has gone through some real hard times. Then I feel like I can trust you. I can trust what you're saying is true because I can tell, or I know that you've been through some real dark times. And if they're going to stand there and tell me that the only way that they got through those dark times was through becoming closer to Jesus, relying on God, then when I'm starting to go through those times, I'm going to remember that and I'm going to be thinking, wow, like, you know, this guy said this, maybe I should try that, you know, and it might help. And it could be anything. It might not just be about like situation, but like I say, you could have all these questions, especially if you're at the start. Like, if you've only been going to church a few weeks and you don't really know what's going on, you're kind of sitting at the back, not a lot of it's making sense. Like, you need to find somebody in that church and start peppering them with questions, because you're going to have a bunch. You're going to have loads. You're going to not understand why, you know, why are we taking this bread? Why are we taking this cranberry juice or wine or whatever you got? Like, you're gonna be like, why are we doing these songs? Like, why are we singing? Like, why? These were my questions. Like, why is everybody like jumping around and singing? Like, why are we doing this? Like, surely we should just be listening to the word, you know? But I didn't understand. I had to ask somebody that. And, you know, then they explained to me that it's all about worship, worshiping the God of the universe, Jesus Christ. And now I appreciate, and it's been like a long process because I was never really massive on the worship side of stuff, like in the singing when I first came. But now I really have had some powerful experiences with the Holy Spirit during worship, you know, and I wouldn't have even kind of submitted to that without having conversations and people explaining to me why, you know, why worship is a thing, you know. And it could be, I'm just thinking of questions that I had when I was kind of coming forward. Like, why are people going to the front and asking to be prayed at the altar? You know, like, why are people doing that? Like, why does it make any difference if I'm there or if I'm sat at the back? You know, like, these are all the questions that I had, and it's through speaking to people that have done it, you know, have been through it. That's when you gain so much wisdom, you gain so much knowledge, and you gain understanding of the scriptures, because it's hard. Like, it's a minefield, especially if you're, you know, trying to research on like YouTube or the internet or whatever. You know, everybody's kind of saying different things, so you need to find somebody that you trust. And this is why I say go to church, because at church there will be somebody there. There will be somebody there that you can just speak to, you know, that will check up on you every now and then, just see how you're doing. You know, like, that for me has been one of the most important things in my development as a Christian, because just having their perspective on things that are going on in your life, you know, when you don't really know what's going on and you're trying to understand why is this happening to me? Why would God allow this thing to happen to me? Having somebody there to kind of just be like, look, it's all right. Like, it's going to be all right. God's not going to leave you. He's not going to forsake you. He's not going to, abandon you. And having them to say, oh, well, have you thought about it from this perspective? Have you thought about it from this? Or, just stuff like that. Like, that is where the knowledge is. That is where the wisdom is. So if you sort of come into faith, you don't really know a lot. I mean, I don't really know a lot, but I don't know nothing. I nearly said I know nothing. I know a little bit more than nothing. Maybe not much, but if you come into faith and stuff, like, get yourself in church and just start speaking to people. I would suggest speak to somebody older than you, because if they're older than you, they've got more life experience than you. There could be younger people there that have been through far more, and they're also valuable to listen to, but just find somebody in church and start peppering them with questions, man. And they'll be happy to help. I don't think there's anybody that I've started asking questions to that's been a bit like, why is this guy asking me stuff? He's doing my thing. Like, no, they're happy to help. In fact, they want you to ask, because they just want to see you grow closer to God. So I hope that helps people. I do think it's really important. So if you haven't got somebody in your life that, is helping you grow closer to God, I definitely suggest go find yourself someone. But I hope that helps, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Peace.